Hello and welcome. My name is Brenda and I am the Resource Mobilization Officer at Tanari Trust. I trust that you're well in the Lord. I'm born again, and it is my joy and pleasure to speak to us today about financial fitness. So what is financial fitness? If we can discuss fitness first, fitness can be physical fitness or in this case financial fitness, but fitness in itself means daily practice that requires consistent effort. So the same way, if you want to be physically fit, you will have to pick up habits that you will have to do on a daily basis, and it will require consistent effort. So today, as we discuss on the financial fitness bit, what habits do we probably have to pick up or continue with if we're already doing them to ensure that we remain in a good place financially? And so financial fitness basically means living in a way that does not exceed income earned, or making choices that are in alignment with our priorities, assuming that we have already set them. So in short, financial fitness means that you have the money when you need the money. And this post will address the financial needs, or rather the target audience is the youth or parents who have children, who even have children who are youth or teenagers or even young children, because at the end of the day, matters to do with finances affect us all. But in the case of today, we find ourselves in a rather precarious scenario because we have to deal with the crisis that is the pandemic. We find ourselves today dealing with the COVID-19 issue, and that has affected our finances. It has affected our economy, meaning that it has directly trickled down to affecting our finances. We were talking about financial fitness, and I have already explained or described what financial fitness is, and it means, or rather fitness in itself means daily practice that requires consistent effort. And financial fitness in itself means living a way that does not exceed income earned. Or, put it very plainly, it means having the money when you need it. So, for us to achieve financial fitness, it is going to require discipline, determination over the long term. It's something that we will have to do today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And why is financial fitness important? And especially now when we are in this era of coronavirus issues. COVID-19 has impacted the economy greatly. So that means that income is not coming in, or there's no proper cash flow as it should, or rather as it has been. So we find ourselves in a place where we all have to adjust one way or another, and of course it starts with our finances. So why is financial fitness important? Number one, it is important because it helps us to reach our financial security, and it gives us peace of mind when it comes to the question of survival, not just today, but in the coming weeks, coming months, even coming years, because now we have to think long term. And it also helps you to become financially independent, and it prepares us for any potential financial problems. But before Corona hit us, before we had this COVID-19 pandemic issue, it's something that we already should have been doing. Having some reserve somewhere, some savings, some habits that will help us to be cushioned in case any issue comes our way, because we cannot foretell what will come today, what will come tomorrow, what will come next month. So I believe a few people were ready, maybe some were not, but it's not a lost case. So besides us gaining financial security, becoming financially independent, and being prepared for any potential financial problems, it also will help us to create goals for each stage of our lives. When you are financially secure and you're financially independent, then you can actually make goals about where it is that you want to be. So, back to the effects of COVID-19 on our finances in a very realistic way. When it comes to both the individual or even in a family setup, first and foremost, life has been disrupted. So that means that we are all at home as a family, and our children are at home, so there's no schooling. So that means we have to feed everyone on a regular basis, and especially if there is someone or people with children, probably young children or even teenagers, we all know that they eat a lot. So that means our budget for food has definitely gone up. We have had to buy necessities, especially things like masks, sanitizers, soap. Our water bill has probably has gone up for those with running water, and that definitely means expenditure has gone up. So the main effects of COVID-19 on our finances, if we are to break it down to probably four main points, which we will break them down further. The first one being loss of income, because truthfully there are those who've lost their jobs entirely. So they're not on unpaid leave, they're not even on paid leave, they've outrightly been fired. Then there's the category that has gotten the reduced income. So they're either on half pay or just reduced pay, but they're still hired. Then we have the category, then we have the other issue of increase in expenses in our households. And then, of course, the final one, the inability to sustain the regular lifestyle that we had. I believe all of us have had to make changes here or there. So in the loss of income, for those who've completely lost their sense of, or even their source of income, probably it was a job, a business, or whatever other source that you used to get regular income from, it is also again still not lost, and we will address now what to do for those that have find themselves in such a situation. And even for those with reduced income, what are the proper habits that we can probably pick up to still maintain what it is that we probably need to do, and how do we even address the increase in expenses regarding where we find ourselves financially, and how do we even feel about having a disrupted lifestyle. So what is it that we can do on a larger scale, not just financially, before we even get to addressing what we need to do financially for us to gain financial fitness? Where can we begin as an individual, and especially your mental state as you do that? Because we first have to look at every scenario, accept it, then now make plans around where we find ourselves. But if we outrightly, number one, refuse to work with the changes or refuse to accept that we are where we are, then we are not in any proper mental state to make proper decisions or even come up with better plans on how to move from it. So the first thing would be accepting that this is where we find ourselves. COVID-19 is upon us. It is true we didn't see it coming. We do not have much control about the crisis that is taking place. But what we do have control over is the way that we choose to see the crisis, or even the decisions that we will make to address that, whatever it is that is affecting us within the crisis. So the first thing we will have to do, especially for us who have families, is to sit everyone down and talk with your family. And by that I mean the immediate family. So if you have a spouse and you have children, it will be very important to include everyone in, first and foremost, letting them know that the financial position of the family has changed. You don't have to go into details if you don't feel comfortable, if you're not a family that discusses moms and dads pay or whatever income you get. But for the very young children, probably under 10, there's still how you can let them know. The point is to bring everyone on the same page, go into as much detail as you can with, depending on the level of ages of your children. And of course, financial openness allows everyone to be part of the solution or part of the changes that need to take place. So the amazing thing is that children can sometimes even be part of they're very easy when it comes to adapting to new changes. So once you have explained to them, they will be very surprised at the pointers they even give you as part of the solution. So when you let them know, especially that some purchases cannot be made, or some activities will need to be cut or postponed, you realize that they own the process. So that way you will not be stressed and they will not also be stressed. You team up together and come out stronger eventually. Then the other way that we can cope is being flexible. Flexibility comes with from a point of understanding that, okay, this is where we were, this is where we are at. Things are not the same anymore. So what is it that we need to do? Flexibility is owning the process, owning where you are, owning the changes. And when you accept that you need to make some financial changes, then you become willing to embrace the changes that need to happen. In this instance, you'll find probably there are families or people, individuals that maybe you are living in a rental house where you are paying probably 50,000 for rent, but when you evaluate where you are currently, you realize that you will probably not be able to afford that place. So part of the changes would be probably even accepting that you probably need to move to some cheaper home or a cheaper rental place. So, or if you were used to eating out, now you realize that that is no longer doable. So you probably need to begin cooking, for those of you who do not cook in the house as frequently. So it's about flexibility. Number 3, asking for help. Since COVID-19 has affected all of us one way or the other, but definitely every person I know, every person has felt the effects of COVID-19 in their own home, in their own household, in their own personal work, especially with their finances. So if you feel like you're in a place where you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling like you don't even understand what is happening or the way forward, ask for help. I'm sure there's someone around you that you can reach out to, whether you're a young person or a middle-aged person. There's always someone around you that you can talk to. And when it comes to finances, there are always people who can help you understand or even paint the picture for you. That is where you're at now. This is probably the next steps you may have to think about. And when you ask for help, it doesn't show weakness. It shows that you're willing to do something. And then finally, maintaining a positive outlook. That means, however grim the situation looks, a brighter day is coming. For every night, there is a dawn. And that is something we will all have to keep remembering or reminding ourselves, and even reminding one another in the family setup. So what are again, we've already talked about why it is important for us to be financially fit, not just now in the time of COVID-19, but even after. So we've said the main 3 things is so that we can achieve financial security, which eventually gives you peace of mind when you think about tomorrow. It also gives you financial independence, so that means you're not reliant on loans, or you don't find yourselves in debt. And that way, number 3, you can set goals freely and even work towards achieving them. So how do we become financially fit? And remember, we've also said, like right at the very start, that this is a process or a journey. that will require discipline and determination in the long run. It is something that we will have to be adopting every day. It's a daily practice that requires consistent effort. We will have to do away with habits, especially those that encourage immediate gratification. We always want to purchase this or to get that, or becoming too casual in how we handle matters finances. That as long as we've paid the big bills, the rest of the money we really can't tell where it went, but we've survived the month. If we are going to be financially fit, it means we will have to be at the top of our game. The same discipline you will have to take up to become financially fit is the same level of discipline you'll have to take to be financially fit. And honestly, you'd rather be financially fit as you also work towards being physically fit. But fitness all round works for the good of the individual. So how do we work towards setting or rather becoming financially fit? So if you feel that you have already accepted the process, you are flexible enough, you've asked for help, and you are looking forward to brighter days, this is what we can begin doing even right now if we've already not begun, but it's a habit that we can adopt for those of us who have not already started, and especially we who have families. The first thing would be setting financial goals. This is important for all of us. You need to know where it is that you're headed. It is like coming into a relationship finally with your finances. How are your finances doing? Where is it that you want to go? Do you have any goals? And in so doing, you must set them for you to attain them. We can never attain goals that we have not set. So if you want to have saved probably X amount of money by end of the year, that is a goal, and you need to have set it. Or even break it down further to how much do you want to save per month or even per week. Break it down to smaller achievable goals. Number 2, plan how to use those savings or investments to reach those goals that you've already set. And you probably even want to buy a house, buy a car, pay school fees, or even move your children to better schools, or even move to a better neighborhood, something. How are you going to use your savings and your investments to reach that goal? Still, under setting financial goals, determine how much now you need to save over time to finance your dreams. Then include an emergency fund in your financial goals. Again, like we said, we can never be sure about tomorrow. We do not know what today alone will bring. We don't know what the next 10 minutes will bring. We do not know what the next month will bring. And it doesn't have to be a pandemic, it doesn't have to be something that is a global thing happening. It can be an illness, an accident, a fire, something. So we always need to be thinking ahead and having an emergency fund in our financial goals. Point number 2, we need to understand where our money is going. Keeping track. How do we do that? Number 1, it means create a budget based on your income. For you to keep track of your money, you'll need to be very honest with yourself. Do you have habits that you probably need to break? Are you the kind of person who, being an impulse buyer, you see something, it appeals to your eyes, you just buy it without consulting your finances first, or even getting to see where it is that you are first? So create a budget based on your income, and then begin by addressing the necessities, the required expenditure, and the discretionary items within your list. And then, of course, projecting it towards the financial long-term goals. So how do you track your finances? You do it by comparing regularly against your budget. So assuming you want to be saving X, maybe 10,000 shillings a month, your rent is X amount of money, your food expenses is certain amount, your fare or fuel is gain another certain amount. If that has been addressed, how much is left? And in what is left, what can still, how are you going to use that very amount? Assuming you didn't get sick or you didn't get an emergency during that period, especially within a month. So if you have a surplus, and the surplus is money that you have in your hands that you've not truly redirected it to any place, and you've already addressed all your recurrent expenditures, how do you deal with that? And that is why we're saying it is going to take discipline for you not to just spend it because it is there. Okay, so track every coin, comparing it regularly against your budget, every day, every week, every month, every year, looking at how you're doing. So use the knowledge and the skills that you will gain over time to spend less. Even the small habits of buying roasted maize by the road. If you take, or rather, if the route towards your office always has this person who roasts maize, and it's probably 20 shillings, do you account for that 20 shillings per day? If it's 20 shillings, that means between Monday and Friday, that is 100 shillings. In a week, that is 400 shillings. Do you know that you spend 400 shillings a month on roasted maize by the roadside? Is it something that is within your budget? Are you aware of it? Or do you consider it just to be 20 shillings, a mere 20 shillings? But when you look at it in the bigger picture, you realize when you break it down to the item per day, per week, per month, you realize that it is still quite a substantial amount of that, of your income. So it is important to know, to keep track. And so when you get to learn of your habits, your financial, especially your spending habits, then now you can be in control. And because you're going to gain skills and going to gain a deeper understanding of how you spend your money, then you'll be able to make the proper changes, the proper alignment that you need to make. So having made a budget, because having set your financial goals, which was the first thing in maintaining financial fitness, then understanding where your money is going by keeping track. The third thing you can do is manage your debt. So that means you curtail the use of debt to consume the important when you're trying to optimize savings and investment capital. What does that mean? It means, again, in layman's language, be honest with how much you're in debt about, who you are indebted to, and how much is it in total. And then build a debt management strategy to reduce or eliminate the debt. Of course, if you have loans, especially for people with loans in this particular time, the loans that have very high interest, those will probably be the ones you would need to address first, and then accelerate the payment of the other debts. That is assuming you still have your job and you probably still have your income. But even so, there is still a good habit would include, of course, keeping tabs, knowing where you're at. What little finances can you redirect towards reducing your debt? Because for you to become financially fit, it means you are debt-free. So for as long as you have debt in your life, you have not achieved financial fitness. But if you take up habits like we have already discussed, small, consistent, deliberate habits, slowly every day, then you will know this is where I'm at, this is what I need to improve on, these are habits I probably need to drop. And if you feel completely stuck again, feel free to ask for help with anybody around you. You don't always have to go to experts because you'll have to pay for the services, and sometimes you really cannot afford that. We have so much resources online to do with matters, especially debt, to see how you can even begin. But coming up with a strategy to reduce or completely eliminate the debt will be of importance, especially to you. Point number 4 in attaining financial fitness will be to automate your finances. What does it mean to automate your finances? Avoid having cash with you as much as possible. And if you must have it, let it be below a certain amount of time, especially for people with a problem of impulse buying. The moment you see money, you keep thinking you have it, and it is plainly available. So how do we automate our finances? Put the money in your savings account using direct deposit so that you don't spend it. So it is an issue of redirecting money from one account to the other without necessarily it passing through your hands, because chances are we are human beings and we are creatures of habit. So maybe you withdrew 10,000 from your salary account and you want to place it into your savings account, and then you come across an issue, and sometimes it's either a man-made created issue or truly an emergency or something you didn't foresee. So something will always try to push you or to make you think that you can just spend the money, then you'll find that extra 10,000 somewhere else to put in the savings account. Again, you've said it's going to take determination and discipline. So whether you have needs at that point or not, put that 10,000 into your savings account. Let it stay there. Then you can address issues from there if at all you no longer have cash with you, or if you do not have another source to address that issue with, because it has to first be budgeted for. And then use auto pay to manage and pay recurring bills like rent or student loans or other things that you pay on a regular basis in the month. Again, the point here is to avoid having cash with us, because the more you see it in your hands, the more you think you have a lot to spend. And then finally, use a money management application to help track payments and other expenditures. That way you will get to know, the money management application, it can be Excel sheet, or there are many apps available online that you can use on your phone, on your laptop, to keep track of your finances. So how do we even create a budget? Or let's go back to, what do you do if you find yourself with having no income at all? What is the first thing for you to do? You start by creating a budget. By doing so, you write down any savings you may have or any amount of money that you still have with you or you have access to, and then list your monthly bills. So if it's your rent, again, if it is right now we're not moving around much, but there are people who still have to go to the office. So if it is your fare or your fuel, there are people who have health issues, and so they have to regularly be on medication. So add that there. There is the food budget. Then number 2, prioritize your bills. Start with the most important that will keep you safe. So that has to be within what is in your budget. Again, the rent, food, medicine, fare or fuel, things that, at least those 4 are the main ones for now that I know cuts across households. And then write down your minimum payment due and when it is due, especially for things that truly must be paid. What is the most urgent? And I know for most people right now it's probably rent and food, and even medicine for those that cannot, with people with diabetes or any other health issues that just require constant attention monetarily through medicine. So start by creating a budget, prioritize your bills. Then number 3, let your creditors know your current financial situation and that what you're intending to do about it. That will make sure that you do not allow yourself to be in that place where it is your creditor chasing after you. It is you notifying them that your financial position may have changed, but you're working towards them. And I know most people feel respected, especially creditors. They feel respected when they're contacted, and you can explain your situation and even come up with a payment plan. Most of them are flexible, or most of them will even help you come up with a payment plan. So feel free to call them. It can be your landlord, it can be your doctor, it can be whoever it is. Make that call. Then start looking ahead. Don't give up hope. Still be positive that things will look out. We'll turn around, and then of course start doing whatever little thing you can do. Send your CVs out there, look for jobs, make connections with your contacts, anybody that has anything that they can redirect your way. Then just start making a journey again towards becoming financially stable again. And in that way, in the long run, you start that journey again towards financial fitness. So what have we said in a nutshell? That financial fitness is having the money when you need the money. And why is it important? We have said it will help you attain financial security, attain financial independence, and attain you can when you're financially fit, then you're able to set goals and then make deliberate choices or decisions that will help you achieve those goals. So we've said we find ourselves in the COVID-19 crisis, and it has affected the economy in the long run, or rather trickling down, it has affected us as individuals and as families. So what do we do as families? We've said the important thing for all of us is always have a budget. Talk to your family, let them be part of the solution, let them know that things have changed. There are purchases that cannot be made anymore, or activities that have to be done away with, or alternatively completely postponed. Then when we come to the family level, what is it that we can do practically? When we're buying things like food, because the expense for food has definitely gone up in most households, and especially households that have children, the young ones and also teenagers, people who eat a lot, we can stock up by buying things probably from a wholesale store and stocking up mostly the dry foods, things that are not easily perishable. And should you decide to buy perishable things in stock, then be in a place to have already known how to store them well, what it takes to elongate the shelf life, and buy things in bulk. So that is either food or medicine, or the face masks that we need, or sanitizer or soap, and cutting down on any unnecessary expenditure. So eating out, we've said it's one of the things that we can probably decide not to do right now. It's not safe for any of us, and eating at home will help you to be health conscious. And then of course, if you're going to buy food that not snacks, food like fruits and a lot of vegetables that will aim at boosting your immunity. That way you keep your family healthy at a budget, of course, that may probably be lower than what you've been using, but still you're redirecting it towards safeguarding yourselves health-wise. You'd rather buy food in terms of fruits and vegetables rather than spend whatever little you have buying medicine because people fell sick. So if you pump, especially right now, on the fruits and the vegetables and of course the dry foods, you will definitely be in tip-top shape health-wisely, and your immunity will become strong, so you will not fall sick easily. And of course, sticking to bare minimum needs, avoiding extras. If we were used to having a spread, a feast for breakfast, people who do daily eggs, bacon, cheese, the works, toasted bread with jam and butter and peanut butter, all that. Look at what can work. So today you can do just tea and bread with butter and maybe a piece of fruit. Tomorrow you can do, something different. But we will definitely have to cut down on how we used to do things so that it can fit. Well, if you can afford it, by all means, go for it. But if you're going to cut down, because again, we do not know how long this COVID issue is going to last, we will definitely need to be making better choices. And even for the babies, those that have babies or young kids, of course, they have to take probably 5 to 6 meals a day. So that is inclusive of snacks. Those snacks can be either fruits or yogurt or anything that is healthy, available, and cheap enough, affordable, basically. Food preparation at home, of course, cook in bulk if you can. Then you also save up on either power, for those who cook with power, or gas. You don't want to also be cooking round the clock, because again, now your expenses on for such things will also go up. And even for little issues, just sit and look where in your lifestyle is money being drained. For those, of course, now we redirect our finances strictly to what is necessary for our survival, for our maintenance, and for our health, our good health. Then the last bit, of course, let's keep exercising so that we remain healthy. No, none of us wants to be in hospital with hospital bills or having to deal with buying medicine that we probably cannot afford. Let us stick to the given guidelines by the government. And of course, bottom line, we have to begin by being honest that this is where we are at, this is what we can do, have a budget, stick to it, and in creating a budget, write down what it is that you also want to achieve, what is it that you will have to do away with. And I wanted to talk about creating the budget. Of course, it takes cutting back and keeping up with just the necessary things, and using the budgeting and planning tools to keep track of your money. And that means having a monthly cash flow worksheet if you can, a detailed spending plan, and a monthly spending plan. That way you will know where you're going down to the last shilling, where it goes. And for those who are beginners or not too advanced with financial matters, we can use a simple worksheet, an Excel worksheet that can be on your phone or even on your laptop. In so doing, you can have a monthly budget by keying in every day. What have you spent every day? Even starting today, if it's something you've not been doing, start today creating a monthly budget and a personal spending plan. If you do that, and of course stick to the 4 main points of the journey towards attaining financial fitness, which is setting financial goals, understanding where your money is going, managing your debt, and finally automating your finances, then you will find yourself, of course, doing better financially and even well on your way towards attaining financial fitness. So that is what we had prepared for today. Thank you, Dennis, for joining us. Thank you, Joel Babrono, for joining us. Thank you, Ruth Masharia, for joining us. Maureen Derry, thank you for your time. And even for the encouragement, and thank you for even showing what it is that you have already learned. Thank you, Martha Muria, for joining us today. So I am praying that you have learned something today, and just an assurance, even for parents with young children, it is never too early or too late to teach our children about financial fitness. There are those who get a stipend, probably monthly or weekly. It's habits. It's a good habit if we can to begin showing them how to begin saving, how to begin keeping track of every coin, even if they get just a mere 20 shillings a week. How is it? What are they intending to do with it? What goals are they setting? That way, when they grow up, it becomes a habit. It becomes a part of them. It becomes, by the time now they become teenagers or they become young adults, it's something that when they begin now earning money that they've worked for, it's not skills that they now begin learning. It is part of a life skill. The same way we teach them to be respectful in society or how to fit in society, teaching them how to be financially fit is something that will benefit them both now and in the future. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Flora Akolo, for joining us. And I pray that whatever lessons you will have learned, it's not too late to begin. We can all begin the same thing. Again, like I said, financial fitness it has the same principles as physical fitness. You know, the same way you watch what you eat, how you eat those things, the times that you eat, when you exercise, is the same thing we have to do with our finances. Basically keeping track and remaining disciplined in the long run. And however long it takes, you are going to bear the fruit. and it will be good fruit. So thank you. I am Brenda Derry, and it was a pleasure having your presence or being in your audience. So the Lord bless you even in your financial journey. May He grant us all wisdom, because He's called us to be good stewards of everything that He has given us, especially finances. So thank you and have a blessed day.